Hi guys, welcome back to a new episode of the Black Janissary. Well, generally my podcasts and videos are in English, but this time I made an exception to introduce a new wargame, a new system of play created by the French designer Philippe Hardy. This new wargame is entitled The Battles of the Sengoku, Jidai, and precisely two battles belonging to the Middle Ages, to the period, to the medieval period in Japan. These two battles are Nagashino, 1575, and Shizuka Take, 1583. It's the volume 1 of this series, and the first episode is dedicated to illustrate the main components of the wargame, and then in the first, or better guys, in the following videos I'm gonna illustrate the sequence of play, the mechanics that the new mechanics that Philippe Hardy created to reproduce these battles of the Japanese Middle Ages. Let's go! Well guys, at first let's have a look at the box. Well, you can see immediately the outstanding image created by the Italian artist Giuseppe Rava. You find also some information, designer Philippe Hardy, map art Sébastien Brunel, counter art Pascal da Silva, scenarios Julien Pelletier, cover art, well, the Italian Rava, and publisher Serious Historical Games, I'd say, a new French publisher. Volume 1 of The Age of the Warring States. Well, let's have a look at the materials used for the box. Well, light cardboard, guys, that tends to warp and twist. So actually I would prefer a better material for the box, and my assessment, my mark as regards the box is 6.5 out 10, also 7 if we wanted to remark the beautiful image that illustrates the box. Let's turn the box and let's have a look. Well, you realize immediately that this wargame, also inside you find a double language. You find at first the French language and the English language. In fact, the booklet is made up of two sections. On one side you find the French section, and the second part is in English. So it's a typical product for the international market. Well, we are giving some further information as regards the battles later. Let's have a look at the scale and playability of the wargame. Well, the scale, grand, tactical, 300 meters center to center area. Please remember, this wargame is an area game. It's not a hex encounter. 45 minutes per game turn, and 500 to 1,000 men per counter. Playability, a number of players, 2 players. Difficulty scale from 1 to 5, so 3 out of 5. Duration of the game from about 2 hours till 4 hours and more. Inside the box you find a map board back printed, such way you can play the two battles 216 pre-cut cardboard counters, 18 per 18 millimeters, so a little larger than the average counter, one cardboard player aid. Actually, there are two cardboard player aids, one in French and one in English, and a book of rules and scenarios. And according to what I was saying, rules and player aid both, rule and player aids both in French and English. Well, I didn't find any die inside the box. It's not a shame, but I would have preferred finding a die inside. Now guys, let's continue our analysis by reading and by browsing the booklet. Well, the booklet is made up of, let me see, of 20, 23, 24 pages, but the booklet is divided exactly into two parts. One section is in French, up to page 11. The second section is in English, Sengoku Jidai rules, from page 14 up to page 24. So guys, actually, you need to read only 12 pages. What about the organization of the rules? Acceptable. You find immediately in the first page overview of the game. This game simulates on a grand tactical scale the wars of the periods known as the warrior states Sengoku Jidai. So this is the main topic of the war game. The sequence of play is really easy. I don't want now to illustrate the sequence of play. I'll dedicate the second episode about a second video about the illustration and explanation of the sequence of play. However, you have three phases: initiative phase, the phase B, alternating divisional activation phase, the core business of the system, the main part of the system, and a final administrative phase, or better, reorganization phase. Then you have the explanation or how to read the counters, description of zones, and I suggest you to be careful about the reading. Philippe Hardy, the French designer, uses new concepts that the traditional wargamer doesn't have the habit to use. Formation, please remember that among the main characteristics of this wargame, we find the formation. So at the beginning of the battle, each clan, each group or counter belonging to a clan have a formation marker. Aggressive formation, flexible formation, defensive formation, etc. Obviously, these several formations affect the battle, the combat, the fighting, by using some more modifiers. Obviously, you have a command phase. You find a sort of chain of command, starting from the main commander to the other general and secondary leaders. Activation, so you find many illustrated examples. These examples are very useful to understand better the mechanics. And then finally, in the last pages, you find the two scenarios. The first scenario is about Shizukatake that took place on June 11th in 1583. And the second scenario is about, that is larger than the previous one, the Battle of Nagashino that took place in 1575. And I didn't like the way to illustrate, to give the information regarding the setup. Why? Because it's not so intuitive. So at the beginning, if you don't know the system, you need time to understand the setup, to understand better the several positions of the clans involved. And however, guys, well, I find this booklet well done. So my final assessment, my final mark as regards this booklet is 7 out of 10. Now it's time to analyze the mapboard. Well, guys, the mapboard is back printed. On one side you can play the Battle of Nagashino that took place on June 28th in 1575, and on the contrary, on the other side, you can deploy the units, the counters, to play the Battle of Shizukatake that took place on June 11th, 1583. But let's be back to Nagashino. Such way I can describe better all the elements that compose the mapboard. At first, please remember that is an area game. The mapboard is divided into several areas. Each area has a number, and in each area you find type 1, type 2 and type 3. So what does it mean? Actually, if you focus on this area number 31, type terrain 1. When I'm using the type 1, well, it's open terrain. Then you have the area 147, type 2. This type 2 refers to difficult terrain. Actually, it's a forest. Then you find the type 3 area. The area 136 is about Nagashino Castle, and the type 3 means that is a fortified area. Then, as regards the typeface used, well, they create, the typefaces used create a sort of Japanese atmosphere, and you can see also this Japanese atmosphere by having a look at the turn track, where you find a fan that indicates each turn. If I will remember, Nagashino lasts 6 turns, 6 complete turns. Another detail that you have to consider is about the division of each area. You find a single line border, you find a single line, and when you cross a single line border, you pay 1 movement point. When you have dotted border, well, you don't pay any movement point. A double line border as regards, well, please see this this double line border. Well, when you are moving and you are crossing this double line, you pay 2 movement points. You have also the large river, where you find the large river, exactly the Toyokawa River. Well, this river is represented with a double line border. However, I'm gonna illustrate the rules in the second episode dedicated to this series. Well, then you find a sort of quote by a famous samurai: "Like a dew I was born, like a dew I die. All life is but an illusion." And I'm going to finish my first video with the analysis of the other components that compose the package dedicated to these 2 battles. Well, guys, the counters. Well, they are doubtless the best component of the entire package. They are colorful. You find several silhouettes also to represent the same kind of unit, and also the digits that represent strength and firing. Well, they are large and can be easily read. You have four kinds of infantry units. You have the so-called TE, actually, in other words, the arquebusiers. The arquebusiers, if you notice, have in the upper left a value of 2, and this value represents the melee strength. On the contrary, the smaller red digit represents the firing strength. Then you have the 5, the large black 5, that is about the movement allowance, and on the right you find a 3, a little 3, that indicates the quality of the troop. TE, I repeat, the arquebusiers. Then you find the YA, the pikemen, the lancers. I don't want to give you the Japanese name, and please remember that these 2 letters represents the initials of the Japanese name. For example, TE, well, in Japanese, but please forgive me because of my pronunciation, well, TE Teppogumi, Ashigaru Teppogumi. So the 2 letters, well, I repeat, are the initials of the Japanese name of the unit. Then you find the YA. Well, YA, actually the pikemen, the standard infantry unit. The YU, actually Yumi, the bowmen, and if you notice, you have 4 that represents a good firing strength. Then you have the CH, the servant, the Chugen, to use the Japanese name, militia, and in fact the militia has a low value as regards the melee. Then you find the samurais, guys, the big warriors, the master of the fighting in Japan. You have three kinds of samurai. I'd say a standard samurai, samurai SA, the guards, the samurai guards, samurais Hatamoto SH, and then you find YH, the Yari Hatamoto, another kind of samurai guards. And you have also two types of horsemen, of mounted units. You have the Ki-I, Kibamusha, and the Ki-H, the Kibamusha Atamoto, so the guards actually. But in every case they are similar also by considering their melee strength. So guys, I think that the counters are really well done. A mark that I could place well would be 8 out of 10, also 8.5. And I repeat, guys, I want to underline that in my opinion these the counters are the best component of this war game. And if you notice, well, they are large, but they don't fit perfectly the size of the areas. So I hope that in the future the mapboard might be larger, such way these counters can have a higher value. They can be better appreciated if we will have a larger mapboard. Well guys, inside the box you find two player aids, one in English and one in French. In front of you you have the English aid. On the left it's back printed. On this side you find a fire table, melee table, fire combat modifier, combat differential, melee combat modifiers. So please remember, there are many modifiers, there are many exceptions, but I think that this player aid is very useful to sum up and to remember all these characteristics of the system. On the other side you find the terrain effect chart, formation table, initiative determination table and quality table. Once you have learned the system, when you have acquired all the mechanics, it's enough using this player aid, and you can play without any problem. Well guys, let's be back to the main view. Well, at the moment is everything. This is the first video dedicated to the new word game created by Philippe Hardy. I hope next week to create the second video that will deal with the sequence of play and also an example of setup. So guys, thank you for your attention and stay tuned. Bye!